Donut Media think that VW have killed F1. Well, as a motorsport fan, as a Formula One fan, as Tommo F1, I thought I'd bring my response because I think that is a load of nonsense. Okay, so when you actually watch the video, that's not really what they believe. It's a good clickbait title, though, I'll give them that. They don't necessarily fundamentally believe that, but I think it's an important thing to discuss because it does highlight the inevitability that F1 is going to have to adapt and change going forward. Otherwise, it will die. So their argument is built around one of the two biggest automotive companies in the world, VW, alongside Toyota. VW have announced that they will be pulling out of all ICE, all internal combustion engine powered motorsports. They haven't set a date, but they've said that's doing it. They're not doing any more development for their internal combustion engines. They are moving their focus very much towards electric. Now, again, just to re-highlight the scale and the size of VW, it's not just the Golfs and the Passat. They've got Audi, Porsche, Seat, Skoda, Bentley, Bugatti, Lamborghini, and Ducati. Ducati? Why did I say that in an American accent? Yes, that's right. They own Lamborghini and they're saying no more investment in internal combustion engines, which is very sad. And further to their argument, their idea is that if VW pull out of any form of, internal combustion motorsport, other engine manufacturers like Honda, like Renault, like Mercedes will follow suit. But not only does this thought process and idea result in the death of F1, it results in the death of loads of other motorsports, MotoGP, V8 supercars, DTM. Pretty much most motorsports are reliant on internal combustion engines, right? So any that are, bye-bye. So look, if you ask me, VW's idea to move away from internal combustion engine developments makes complete sense. It really does. Like, the internal combustion engine has been developed to an insane level where how much further can they take it? Arguably not much further, I would say. There's still a lot that an internal combustion engine can offer that an electric engine can't, energy density, etc. But yeah, I think it makes sense. And VW aren't the only company to do it. They focus on VW in this donut video because of the IDR, because of the motorsport angle and the focus they've gone on. But Mercedes have already said they're going to do it anyway. They've already said they're not going to develop internal combustion engines anymore, and that they're hoping to have at least an option for every single car that they sell in electric by 2025, which is not it's like 5 years. That's nothing. And Mercedes are already in F1. You know what I mean? Like, they're actually an engine supplier in Formula One and a team. And again, I would love to say it's not going to happen. I would love to say ICEs will last forever, V12 screams, bring them back, all that. But it's just not realistic. It's not going to happen. It's a shame. But so many countries are saying they want internal combustion engines completely outlawed. So it's going to be all electric on the roads. Not just you can't buy a new one, literally illegal to own one. But a lot will happen in that time. The tech will develop on a lot. I'm very confident of that. And I think, the electric options that are available now are pretty good. If I won the lottery tomorrow, I would definitely buy a Tesla. Yes, the VW IDR proved that electric vehicles can hang with the best internal combustion engines in terms of performance, but we kind of knew that already. Like, Tesla already proved with their, their standard like Model X, Y, whatever it is, the sedan one that can accelerate from 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds. Like, yes, we know this. We know the torque is immediate. We know, the performance isn't an issue. Motorsport is about so much more than top speed. That's the thing. It's about so much more than that. It's a sport that is battled on multiple levels in loads of different disciplines. Top end speed is not the be all and end all. You've got to boil down, what is Formula One? Like, it's a brand, okay? It's one brand that sits within motorsport, just like BTCC, DTM, Rallycross, MotoGP. They're all brands that involve certain sets of regulations, all different, all totally different, but they all involve people sat behind the wheel of a vehicle of some kind, or handlebars on a bike, caning around a track. Winner wins, loser loses, job done. Of course, for the entire existence of Formula One, there has been internal combustion engines. The basic premise of an internal combustion engine hasn't changed in over 100 years now, and electric coming in is the biggest shake-up in motorsport history, I think, in terms of it's going to be a real, like, this next 10, 20 years is going to really fundamentally change the landscape of what motorsport is. Just look back at F1, like, look at how many crazy designs, the fan car, 6 wheels, stupid, like, X-wing things. Like, there's been so many developments, and, you know, the power units have developed as well, but that is one factor, and there is so much more to motorsport than the engine. You know, I made this point quite clear on my Formula E video. You know, sound to me is really important, and performance and that, but, and, you know, Max Verstappen was quoted saying in testing, you know, he'd rather see closer racing than lap times being smashed. And I completely agree. That's what we're there for. We're not, you know, if we want to watch a time trial, time attack series, there's motorsports that offer that, okay? That's not what Formula One is all about. It's about more than that. It's about the competition, direct wheel-to-wheel racing, you know what I mean? But all of the factors that have made up Formula One over the years that it's existed have always changed, and the sport has always evolved to meet, you know, there were times when, you know, environmental regulations would come in and they had to, you know, change the fuels that they use and the emissions and all that kind of stuff, and the sport has evolved. And, you know, if you haven't seen my video on Liberty Media and why I think they are a very, very good thing for F1, I do think that, you know, with their ownership, you know, they spent, you know, over $4.5 billion on Formula One. They're not just going to let it die. It is the mainstream motorsport. If you go on BBC Sport, that's the like, you see that next to football, Formula One. Like, no other motorsport gets the international recognition. You know, in the States, I know it's very different because obviously you've got NASCAR, IndyCar, but Formula One is such a global mainstream motorsport. And, you know, with the changes that Liberty are making, that's only going to increase. They're not going to let it die. They're not going to let it die because, like Donut said in their video, these changes are going to be incremental. VW have said it's going to be on a case-by-case basis to start with. They're not just pulling all funding straight away. It's not going to happen overnight. If it doesn't adapt, if it doesn't change, then the people in charge don't deserve to be in the positions that they're in, because they know it's coming, because we all know it's coming. You've got to be real. We all know it's coming. The electric revolution is upon us. You know, I've had a few comments on my videos, people asking, do we think FE and Formula One are going to combine? Because obviously Formula E does have that, it seems to have more momentum behind it, kind of rising up. And Formula One's still very much at the top as far as I'm concerned. But Formula E's got a lot of backing, a lot of financial support. It's doing the street races, which is going to open it up to a much more mainstream audience. Could Formula E replace F1 as the mainstream motorsport? I think it could. I think it very much could. I think that is certainly a threat that F1 need to be very kind of conscious of. But again, maybe electric isn't the answer. Like I mentioned earlier about energy density, there's a great Engineering Explained video. I'll link it above and in the comments below. Give it a watch. It really does deep dive into, you know, the drawbacks of electric, you know, the energy density, like, gap between, you know, petroleum. And we're not even just talking petroleum. We can talk biofuels, we can talk bioethanol, methanol, whatever. A lot of these fuels, you know, they're practically zero emission. Again, much more energy dense, much more easily, you know, you can form it into a liquid. You don't need all these battery packs that, you know, if one fat, you know, there's issues with electric cars. There's a reason we're not going to see electric planes anytime soon. To get that level of energy, you would need so many batteries that you wouldn't be able to have any passengers, because the plane would just be full of batteries and it'd be too heavy. I think Formula One has always been, you know, motivated, that manufacturers and the engineers have been motivated by developing technologies in F1 that can eventually make the jump into real life road cars. And if real life road cars are going electric, then F1 is going to have to adapt and change, and, you know, the reliance on an internal combustion engine will shrink. But obviously you've also got things like hydrogen with zero emissions. If that technology goes on and increases and moves forward, you know, maybe that can sit alongside. Maybe it doesn't have to be just the one option. Maybe you've got different options that are more or less appropriate for different applications. Maybe for motorsport, it's a focus on, you know, really maximizing these kind of biofuels and using hydrogen. And then maybe for, you know, your everyday normal car, you've got electric, and then there's technologies developed in F1 like energy recovery in the brakes and all that kind of stuff, because it's still like 90% of energy is lost during braking, even with energy harvesting. Like there's so much more in those areas that can be done for the sake of the sport and the longevity and the survival of Formula One. We need to be open to change and things moving in a different direction, because otherwise it will just stagnate and then it will die. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the Donut Media video. I've linked it below in the description. Give it a watch. It's an interesting one. You know, it's an insane channel. Their quality of their stuff is on another level. And so yeah, if you like my stuff, give them a watch. And that's been my 2 cents. Bit of a rambling video today. I just wanted to, you know, I saw the video when it dropped just before I went on my stag do, and I was like, I need to make a video talking about this, because it highlights some really interesting points, and I think it's something that, you know, we as fans need to educate ourselves on as much as possible, because, you know, this is the future of our sport. Motorsport is a very unique sport. It's not like, you know, tennis, where the sport isn't going to fundamentally change, you know, ever, really. It doesn't need to, just in terms of lighter rackets, you know what I mean? Whereas motorsport, there's so much more to it than that, and there's such a big political element to it, which is unfortunate, but it is just the truth. So yeah, let me know down in the comments below what you think. Do you think F1, you know, will die at the hands of VW like Donut Media seem to think to, or do you think they'll be okay? Will it merge with Formula E? I don't think so. I think they can live independently, because, you know, the day we see boost mode in F1, I'm out, I think. It's a bit too Mario Kart. I want that. I'm happy for that to be in Formula E, and that's a bit more, you know, I'll look at those sports in different ways. I think F1's a bit more grown up and a bit more serious. F1 is a bit more, maybe a bit more fun, you know what I mean? Like, maybe, I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below. My name's been Tommo. This is the Tommo F1 YouTube channel. Thank you again so much for watching. Please drop a like on this video if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new and you want to see more. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.